You are now rocking with the 3-yard play.
Right.
We just figured out a 3-yard play, fam. We're gonna win every time.
Yeah.
Hit that link with you. Come on in.
You're tuned into the 3-Yard Play podcast. Well, the only question is, does it work for you?
Trail got wings, bitch.
We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year. We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year. We live in weight just to hold up the trophy. Flag on the plate, cause them haters can't hold me. And one, 2-a-days and run up the biggest hill just to sharpen up my skills. They hit the scoreboard first, I had to hit them drills. Time I get around the corner, they gon' see my new wheels. After practice, till the lights come on, till they bust ride out and they gone. That rally had us help, my teammate down the steps. Player, we got plays you ain't even seen yet. I post up and fade away like graffiti. Just don't claim it's love when you see us on TV. We been working all year. It's game time. We all here. We turned up. Oh yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year.
3-Yard Play podcast.
We been working
brought to you by reality.
all year.
Where it is, what it is.
Game time.
You get what you get.
We all here.
So comment and let us know where you live.
Yeah. Cause we finna be the champs this year.
You start with the reference to God.
All streaming platforms, featuring hits like
Never
Young
out of
Jit,
hardships. Used to not problem.
My
Rocking
Book of
on
Life,
starship.
and
Knowing
many
how you
more.
going.
Follow El
Going
Bravo
on.
at Lab
Ever
Tech
since I
Music Group.
stepped in the
It's
game,
time.
I done started.
Like a stowaway,
Baby, you out. Release me.
just like
In
a
stores now.
Your homeland's far away. Take my hand and let me lead, though. I feel like they wanna take me, baby. Where you ready me? Take a shot at the back of my hand and leave me for dead.
El Bravo. Release me. In stores now.
Yeah, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to 3-Yard Play podcast. What's good, Timo? What's up, LJ?
Feeling, bro. Feeling.
The medical. Yeah. And this week we're gonna be trying to figure out just what's the formula to reach the youth, man. How do we kick the truth to the young black youth, man, the young brown youth, and there's people in these neighborhoods, everyone that's looking for opportunity, even the young white youth, man, if they're willing to listen to it, you know? So. We cut this out
Man.
so we get the business though.
Yes, sir.
What's
man.
up, man?
I'm chilling, bro. Man, it's great. I'm glad you brought this topic up today, man. I've spent a lot of time this week working on listening to the King's speech, the 3 dimensions of a complete life. And, you know, the formula he proposed was length of life, which is about love of self. Then breadth of life, which is about how we interact and reach to other people, and also the height of life, which was more about reaching out, having a better relationship with God. So it got me thinking real hard, you know, in the space I'm in, trying to reach these youth as a coach, facilitator, community leader. Like, man, what is the formula? You know what I mean? All right, that was King just kind of gave a more broad perspective on. Now I'm trying to interested in what specifics we need to kind of do, or how do we customize our approach to reaching our youth in terms of mentorship. And I'm just curious to know, man, what are y'all's thoughts on that, brother? Because I'm like I said, I burned the midnight oil trying to go through this every night, and I'm just open to hearing you all side before I chime in.
So what were you said the 3 points were breath, which had
Breath
to
of
deal
life.
with
Yeah, the breath of life. Your outward concern for others. It's like empathy, if you will. you know, just being able to listen to the other man. But that is connected to how you feel about yourself, which was what he called the length of life, which means not so much how long you live, but like your self-awareness, you know, that type thing. And then the height of life, meaning like what is your connection to I guess you say a higher power. That's probably a better way to surmise it.
And then the framework of reaching the youth.
Right. And so me, I feel like some of that is failing in the sense that, you know, when you talk about, I think you said length of life and like knowing yourself, right? I think people at this point, or the youth at this point, they're not really interested as much as we were, as far as our parents were, on the history or where we come from. You know what I mean? Like, even with my own daughter, a lot of times, you know, I want to express to her, you know, some historical facts about being African American, or, you know, and to her, I know she receives it, but I think it's so far removed from her that she's not attached as well to it as we were. And so it becomes kind of like a background thought to them, as opposed to something that gives them some type of identity. So that's, I think, a hard part right now in reaching the youth, is restoring that identity, that historical identity that we come from, you know, this and not just slavery. And only thing that they're getting taught in the books or in the schools is that we come from slavery. But there is so much that they could take pride in if we allowed them to know about it. And somehow we got to figure out how to get that to them where they're interested in it. At this point, I do see it's kind of difficult to make that connection.
Right. Now, it's interesting. You said, I'm sorry, I'm coming back to you, Trip, because just because you might be able to expound on some things, because I just made some things that connected. When you talked about where we come from and reaching back, I kind of connect that breadth of life and that length of life, meaning we're God's, we're the original man. You know, humanity originated in Africa. You know what I mean? And how does that, you know, that identity of knowing that you are the God's original chosen people, and how it relates to us today, it help with our identity and, I guess, love of self, like he mentioned in length of life. Trip, can you expound on that or have any thoughts on that?
Well, I think in relation to that, as well as kind of what you threw out there first, is impact. You know, that's just the one thing that stands out to me overall, is just impact. You know, like the youth these days, or at least the young people I run across, they're receptive to hear what you're talking about, but they're real quick to cut it off if they don't see any impact. You know, if they feel like either you just talking, you're not somebody that's going to be there and stay the course, then, you know, they're not going to listen to you. If they feel like it's going to be a waste of their time, they're not going to get no money off of it, they're not going to listen to you. And if they don't see just a direct benefit of like, okay, this might help me on some one-off, but I need daily bread, or I need, you know, my own 3-yard play to where I can keep doing this even when you're not in the picture, then they're not going to listen to you. Because a lot of the things they do, you know, that we see is like, this is dumb, or this is negative. Why y'all doing this? Say, be it breaking into houses, selling drugs, scamming, all that stuff. It is something, you're not going to have a long lifespan with it, but arguably it's something they can do by themselves and they can repeatedly do to get some money. And so that's why they do those things. It don't even be that they like it. Some of the stuff is bad stuff, but they know, shit, if I do this, I can at least get me this and I can sell this and make whatever money. So I think we just got to be able to reach them on a very practical level, because us as kings is important, but that don't really matter to a young dude standing there with nothing in his pocket. It's like, you could tell me we were kings, but bro, I'm hungry today, you know? So I think that's, you know, a lot of what we run up against. And that's why they take, you know, kind of what is some consider the easy way out, but it's just ways they know they can get money immediate and feed themselves, you know, be it joining a gang and running with other folks that's doing little crimes that, you know, hey, there's some money coming in, or even them venturing out on their own, doing things that people don't agree with them doing, but it puts money in their pocket, you know?
No, that's fair. I accept that, and I appreciate you sharing that, because it made me think about as you were saying, I was, my brain races. I was thinking maybe I need in this space we got to learn how to connect with our youth and help them or help us understand their value system. Like you said, like what they place value on is not necessarily the same thing that we do, but there is value in our experiences and I guess and connecting it to where they are today, if you will. And so, man, that's a great start. So making sure that their values and their beliefs match, I guess, their actions. We did a lot of talking about emotionalism in the past. We've talked about how the systemic oppression and all those things have impacted how we are as a people. But what I'm gathering from hearing you all say is that if we have a better understanding of what they value today, you know what I mean, and like you mentioned, sometimes there's some level of immediacy of the impact that they want to see today. Historical, we can provide that historical foundation, but we need to relate it to how they feel today. Am I hearing that correctly?
Yep.
Okay.
And let me throw this out here too. Like in this diverse new age, I feel like also the youth are, since it's such a blended society at this point, education is where the Black or the African American brown skin, that's how they're going to break, from the traditional, lows that we've gone through in society. So when you enter into these educational realms, you start to have to balance what you consider to be Black or consider to be African American. And I noticed that in these educated arenas, the youth sometimes almost feel like it's a burden to exert that Blackness out, or show that, because they're just trying to fit in from an educational standpoint and show that, hey, I'm just a regular person. So it becomes a difficult balance to be able to say, okay, I still have white constituents or friends, counterparts, but at the same time honor my Black, historical background. So I think a lot of times they feel like if they do that too much, that separates them from their educational movement of getting into different groups or different jobs or anything like that. So I don't know, man. I see other cultures do it. Like if I look at Asians, I look at Jewish, whoever, they're able to exert that I am this, as well as a friend to this other culture, or I interact, or I'm good. I have good interactions with other groups. You know what I'm saying? But we're the only ones, I feel like, as a youth, have to kind of dodge that, so it doesn't seem like, or come across as being too Black or too whatever. You know what I mean?
Right. Now that's a good segue. I want to ask you this real quick, Trip. Based on that, we're in this Black History Month, and based on what LJ is saying about the awareness, that cultural awareness, and it's not African American History Month, it's Black History Month, so it kind of spans the globe, if you will, and what we would like to, like. So, do you think? I guess it's, I don't know. I don't hate to put you on the spot like this, but that's just what I do.
What's that?
Do you still see Black History Month having any significance in this fight for helping us create this a level of awareness and appreciation and setting these value systems or understanding of the values of our youth today based on historical matched up with today's experiences? That's probably the better word to say.
I think it has a place in that it is good to have a time for us to be celebrated, in which, because what Larry was expressing is that often we kind of we don't really get to stand up all the way. You don't really get to stand up upright fully and just be proud of who you feel, because our heritage is not necessarily the mainstream and we're not the ones that have the ball. But along the lines of that, and even addressing the question about the relevance of Black History Month or the role it plays these days, I think a large part of what the Black youth, for sure, and maybe to some degree the brown youth, have to deal with is just having an actual place. Having a place, and I don't know if you've been around people that say everything for a place or everything. When it comes to order, there's a place for everything, and everything has its place. I think that's the phrase they say. But far too often in our community, it's more of a just you got to just get it done. You just got to go through, and whatever you got to work with. And if that means you have a woman trying to raise, young men to be men, it's something we just got to work with and move through, because that's what the setup is here at this house. So, I think also when we go into other situations and we feel like, man, okay, you can't feel as proud about your look, your hairdo, or the way you style your style of dress, or the pronunciation of your name, or the way you speak, your vernacular. All those things you have to kind of fit into a place, and a lot of it just has to do with us not having control, and not always seeing the proper archetypes. So I think to impact and reach the youth, we've also just got to show them just things in their proper place. I know when I was young growing up, and I had mentors or got to be around different male role models, it was cool to be around somebody who was a husband and a father, and you got to see how they interacted with their kids. Like, shouts out to Keenan Nix, man. Attorney Keenan Nix in Atlanta was my Sunday school teacher, and he actually led a youth program that he was involved in for a number of years in my church, in which he just worked with the young people. Nick Love was in the program with me. I don't know if Bame ever came out there with us, but it was cool, man. Keenan really made it a point to bring us under his wing, take us to his house, and see how he would interact with his kids and his family and his wife, and just take us, spend time with us every week. And we got to the point we knew going to church, it was funny because sometimes we'll be grudged, like, we finna go up here, Keenan finna be talking this mess. But you knew every week, man, Keenan gonna be there and be giving you some game or looking out, asking you how school's going, teaching you something, giving the damn. Same thing with the Scouts. When I was in Boy Scouts, you knew the Scout leader was gonna be there. And that was a dude who was the traditional Ned Flanders type of guy. And, he still had some street sense about him, but it was just upright person that you could see, giving you a good example of everything in this place and everything and a place for everything,
But it's funny you say that, man. That name.
That's how Don Jones, man, Scout leader.
So you said Keenan Nix. I didn't know he gave you the business as a child. But that's cool because one of his sons is one of my mentees. Oh, I gave him the business too.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Look
so
at
that's
that,
funny. I didn't know we had that level of connection. That's so funny.
Wow.
But with that being said, just because I know we're running up on time, I want to ask you all right quick. I ask you, LJ, real quick, like what factors or conditions you think will help influence the effectiveness of us as an older generation, as mentors to this generation? Like, what type of things you think could kind of help set the ball for us to allow some level of connection?
I think we just need to show them something different. We need to start providing resources, but also showing them that there's cool in being, the good guy, that's so to speak. A lot of times what we celebrate in our culture or being taught to celebrate in our culture are the things that are negative. So I think it starts there. If we start to celebrate, the guy who went and became a doctor and now he's a surgeon on, brain or hearts or whatever, if we can start showing them that there's those aspects of us as well, I think that they can make an attachment. I think right now, some of the things that they can't relate to is because they don't see it enough, and therefore they can't really attach or see themselves in that position. And then I think after that, you have to create the opportunities in those areas, not take them out of the area, because what happens is they forget, you lose your identity. It's all about still holding on to your identity as an African American, Black, brown, whatever you want to identify as. You still have to have an identity, or you get swept by whatever is guiding the train at that point. So I'm just saying at this point, what we need to do is definitely show them something different. But then also after we show them something different, build up those places in the areas that they come from. You know what I mean? Start showing them, giving them opportunities in their areas. So they don't have to go look everywhere else and depend on everyone else to change their circumstance or their view of themselves, because then it's only a view of what an outside culture puts on them that they deem valuable. So I think if we do that, man, like LeBron, you know, putting the school in where he came from, not in Africa.
Drama school.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Nothing wrong with that, doing something over there in Africa, but you're responsible for your immediate circle first, and then go outside of that. But if you step over the people on your front porch, you know, it's going to be hard to touch those people. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. And real quick, because this trip you're gonna end us off with this comment. I got a question for you though. In your last comment, you mentioned a lot of things that kind of made me trigger my mind, like the traumas that exist with us personally and the youth that we deal with. So with that same question, I'm like factors or conditions that may influence effectiveness. I know you kind of mentioned the traumas, and I just want to know if you had any ties to that, in terms of how we become more effective based on the conditions or influence we may have on our youth.
I think over here trying to push this COVID off of me. I think that, you know, overall we have to just go back to the idea that it takes a village, you know, because everybody has been through pain. There's been a lot of trauma in our community that's been ignored, you know, that's been experienced by the youth as well as the seniors and people in the middle. So I think we just got to change our hearts, man, just be more compassionate to one another with that being the case. You know, a lot of times I think we start to develop the attitude of not wanting to deal with each other, be it young, old, and different. You know, seeing folks and kind of shying away, whereas we need to be more inviting and bring in, you know, wrap your arms around people like in the mental sense and the spiritual sense and be more inviting to just one another instead of us seeing the youth and automatically like, I don't know, them kids look like they up to X, Y, and Z. Well, shit, you need to go engage them kids. They may be up to X, Y, and Z because everybody that passes by don't want nothing to do with them. Right. So they just trying to deal with the scraps that they have to try to put together what they can. So I think just, you know, just tuning in, man, making it a point to try to bridge that gap. Because it's crazy if we think as the older people that the young people are supposed to reach out to us and facilitate a relationship, because they're really not. Us, the older people, know more about that and the importance of it and even understand more about how to get it done in an efficient way. So I think we need to actually be more concerned and start looking out for the youth and showing them like, well, we give a damn. Even if we don't got $1 million, if I can't put $1 million on it, I'll at least sit here, chop it up with you. I may be able to do this. I may not. But, you know, even for the water boys, I may not always get them money, but sometimes I see them and just let them know, I see you. I understand your struggle. I can talk to you and give you some game, some, you know, some input here. I'm not gonna always pay you because I don't want to be extorted. But at the same time, I do recognize what you're doing and I will try to always encourage you.
Man, I love that. I know we got to get up out of here. Just maybe two or three quick comments from myself. As I listen to you all, man, I'll start making all those connections to what King said about basically self, others, and God. And I'm going to end with the God piece. In our community, from what my experience, we all have a kind of like we have with each other in society, this love-hate relationship with God based on a sense of immediacy. You know what I mean? Wanting to have the impact today and all those things. So just as a Christian, man, I'll just say, hey, I don't know how you get it, but find some sense of power from something that empowers you to be your best self so you can be there for others at the end of the day. Like I said, I'm not pushing anybody in one direction, but a lot of the things that we did say kind of fit that formula that King said about a complete life, what that life looks like, that's on you. So with that being said, thank you all for joining the 3 Yard Play podcast. And the only question is, does it work for you?
Does it work for you?
Yes, sir.
I'm asking y'all a favor, man, before you stop. You start recording already?
No, we still going. What's up?
Okay, cool, man. Let me share my screen one more again, man. I've got to ride out without music, man. You know what I'm saying? Hold on, man.
It's the fact that I'm smooth. That's why I'm on the incline.
Hey. 3 Yard Play podcast, baby. We out.
It's like a message that only I can understand, but those who want to comprehend.
Hey.
New Black Magic Jr. album, Riot's Work, coming soon, featuring bangers like How Deep, Cursed, the Poland remix, Rolling, and many more. Also, be sure to check out the album FM Max. Sleep well and breaking cases of mercy.
Alien technology that took the skull and bones, silver first for all of y'all to see. Black magic in the flash, hacking through the algorithm, killing shit the best.
New Black Magic
Bulls running full court press. Jordan back after getting shit off his chest.
Cause the truth is the hardest shit.
You see, the thing that separates us from every other group of slaves is the fact that
thank y'all for tuning in today and every day. And remember to keep running your 3-yard play.
Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers, they gon' grow. We gon' water season, watch that harvest flow. I've been crunching up.
Cause we know heroes are made in the off season.
There should be no reason
and grinding slow is better than crashing out
we
for
get that money bound for, we don't run it.
Let's say, young brothers, remember,
don't fulfill the promise.
I ain't never 3 yards every day. They can never
I can't
stop.
read that narrative, so ain't no need of calling us. You ain't never had to tell your kid being black was a sin, cause his skin was reflected through America. Taking care of us was just a handout, right? But it was fair when free labor was just as nice. I can bet you your life, your kids living alright. Cause me and mine had to do it and die every single night. I get mine, yeah. You get yours, yeah. But together, nigga, we gon' get some more, yeah. Look at them mouths, we feel like flowers,
so
they gon' grow.
Subscribe, share,
we gon' water season, watch that harvest flow. I've been crunching numbers, winter, fall, spring, and summer. There should be no reason that the baby never hunger. When we get that money bound for, we don't run it. I only bet you Jesus to go fulfill the promise. Time and time.